Right. Welcome, YouTube family. Will Hambrick here once again with Thisfiremedia, a company here for all of your media needs, websites, brands, commercials, press kits, flyers, ads, animation, photography, videography, anything you can think of, we do. I want to give a special shout out to our sponsors today. You are talking in Wallace Skincare, link below. I am overwhelmingly excited. Today, we have an amazing, beautiful, and dynamic individual who is not only changing the market in London and the US, but also a very dynamic person in her own right and niche. Hey, Miss Catsu. Miss Catsu, what's going on?
Hey, Will, how are
Hi.
you doing?
Pretty good. Amazing. What time is it out there in London?
So it's 9 p.m., but I'll be perfectly honest. I live on US time zone, so it
Okay.
only feels like the middle of the day right now.
Beautiful. Boy, you look up, you look amazing. I am ready to soak up the game. I'm sure all of the listeners, everybody is ready to hear who you are, what you do, and why this is so important, I think, for this episode. So just really quick, thank you once again. But as you well know, our formula is elevate your mind, elevate your business, and illuminate your vision. And so the first question that I want to ask you is, how important is it for someone to keep or remain with an authentic self when rocking in their business or with their business?
Mm, that's such a good question. I think there's a balance between putting yourself in your business and putting yourself out of your business. What I found, I'm a femininity expert. I coach ambitious women on how to find the right balance between feminine and masculine energy so that they can attract exactly what they want in their love lives and in their careers and in their businesses. And when I started on that journey and I started building my business, it was only it's been less than 2 years. So I was like 23 at the time. And when I was beginning, the only thing I really had experience in was myself, was my own experience. I grew up shy, insecure. I couldn't talk to anyone. I kind of described myself, if anyone has seen Ugly Betty, like the ugly Betty back then. And so when I was building the business and in terms of speaking to my audience, I had to transport myself back to that old version of myself. Could I change so much? And that was what allowed me, through my messaging and my marketing and my branding, to really speak to women in a way that they felt like, wow, you're inside of my head right now. But one of the things that happened as time went on is that I, as a person, began to change. I began to improve and my interests changed, and I became a more different person. This was a natural progression for me. However, my ideal client was staying the same. And so I had to, in certain ways, begin to remove a bit of myself from that brand because it wasn't necessarily relatable. Because if I'm over here and I'm talking about, I just had afternoon tea in the Four Seasons today. My ideal client, that's their aspiration. That's not their reality for some of them. And so remembering where you started and remembering where you came from in the beginning is very important, but constantly assessing, in my current state, am I as close to my ideal client as where I began? That's what's going to help you find the balance between your own authenticity and your clients' or your customers' authenticity.
Amazing. That was a lot. That was heavy. And and you know what? I actually, I was so excited. I got a little bit ahead of myself. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like who you are, what you do? That probably would have helped people prior to you answering that question. But go ahead. No, I'm like beautiful. Go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my name is Kat. I run the brand The Femmeguide. It is a brand that helps women who are high achievers, but often have had to become more masculine in order to achieve success, get back in touch or reignite their feminine energy. And femininity is something that when people think about it, sometimes they make the mistake of thinking it's all about makeup and hair and what's the difference between a salad fork or a dessert fork. But I don't do femininity that way. I do femininity based off of the energy. So it's about how can your feminine energy bring you what you want in your love life or in your social life or even in your business or your career. I've shown women through the Femm Guide and my coaching and online courses how to get, like, for example, a $35,000 salary increase after just one day of coaching. And on the flip side, other women, how to attract their dream man, get the ring on their finger, and are getting married this year. So I believe that femininity is for all areas of our life, and I do that through the Femm Guide.
Amazing, amazing. $35,000 increase in that salary. I'm definitely clicking the link below. So that's pretty dope. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, beautiful. Second question, just kind of, vibe out. I'm just wondering, okay, so in terms of like your niche and what you do, right? How has that helped you either market to your clients, or how did your business excel or grow in terms of that identity that you had?
So, when I think back to what really made the difference for us when we began growing was taking an assessment of what was already available in our niche. So my niche is already very small, but even if you pull back, you could literally just describe my niche as life coaching or confidence coaching. So I decided to zoom in specifically and say, I'm going to do that, but specifically for feminine women. But even within that niche, what I did was I took an assessment of what's currently out here that I absolutely loved. I think, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Then what am I seeing that I'm like, oh no, we don't want that.
Right.
And then, right. And then there was the third piece of what am I not seeing that I know that I could provide? And so that assessment is what allowed us to really speak to our ideal customer.
So yeah, I think one of the hardest things is individuals being able to speak to the ideal customer, or even like ascertaining what that ideal customer looks like or is. Yeah, and like honestly, like later on, if you could expand on that a little bit more, that'd be great. Um, the last question really I wanted to ask you, and then if you want to just vibe out a little bit, like that would be cool. What helps you, or how do you build your vision consistently, right? So like when you're building your vision, or when you saw your vision, when you were creating, how do you do it? What helps you? Give us a little bit, because the vision is big. The vision is big.
Do you know, well, like, I'm gonna be so vulnerable and so open with you right now.
Okay.
When I started this business, I didn't have a big vision. I was like, if I could make like 10 pounds a day just from posting stuff on Instagram, I'll be Gucci. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then before I knew it, like, I tripled what I was earning at work. And I was like, oh, I think this is something.
Yeah.
And so what I've seen is that I'm not one of those people who began a business and I had these massive dreams of, we're going to do this, we're going to sell 1 million copies of a book and blah, blah, blah. I was just like, I'll just take it as it comes. However, the reason why my vision is big now and it keeps growing, and what helps it grow, is I tap into the success and the achievements of people around me. So I obviously I met you through Clubhouse. So Clubhouse has been
Sure.
an incredible tool
Hashtag Clubhouse.
to
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Big connects.
I miss our rooms. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie. I miss
yeah,
those morning coffee
yeah. Let's do
rooms.
it. Let's do it. Yeah.
Yes. So that really expanded my view of what's possible. And one of the things that I constantly do is when I meet people who I admire, I don't just like keep a surface level connection with them. I often try and form a deeper connection. So I'll hop on a Zoom call and we'll talk for an hour. And
Mm,
they are often the ones who will say, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And I'm asking myself, if that feels right, if that aligns with me, how can I do the same or even greater in my business? So if I meet a woman who's a confidence coach and she's gifted me a copy of her book, I'm reading her book. I'm now doing research on how do I self-publish a book? I'm
mm.
asking her what lessons has she learned. I'm looking at how would that resonate with my audience. And now one of the things in my vision is to write a best-selling book on femininity. But
Yeah,
I'm lucky, well, I guess I worked to have people in my network who've already written best-selling books. So that has been a big thing, is pulling from those people around me.
for sure, for sure. And I've seen your grind as well. I've seen your grind a number of places. And yeah, don't sell yourself short. Yeah, you're a hard worker for sure. Um, I do want to ask you, what is something that people wouldn't expect, maybe that uh you came across that either was really beneficial or really difficult for you, while you were building your business?
Oh, wow. Well, these are good questions, Will.
But they're great answers, though. You know what I mean? Good to great. Thank you.
Yeah. I love that one so much. You know,
And I know,
I'll
I know, I
mention,
know, I kind of hit you like on the fly with that question, so
but
just take your time.
I,
Like, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I have two things that come to mind, and I'll talk about the first one and I'll go into the second one. It's a bit deeper, but the first
okay,
one was this is gonna be so funny. Me being bored during the pandemic.
yeah,
Just being like, I don't have anyone to talk to. Everyone's all over the world. And I just started like meeting people online because I believe that you can meet people anywhere. And I came across this random guy and he was like, "Oh, you have you ever thought about like being like a gamer girl, like a Twitch streamer?" And I was like,
okay.
"No, like I don't even play games." And so they kind of took me underneath their wing and they introduced me to the world of gaming. And they kept pushing me like, "You should start streaming on Twitch, like play all these video games." And I really enjoyed playing the video games. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to stream on Twitch. I stream on Twitch, you are going live for hours. And your goal is to entertain people in order to keep them with you. And so what I just started doing was I started building up like my space and building up my studio and getting equipment to stream on Twitch. And I realized that I didn't really like the atmosphere of Twitch because it's very like male and toxic and just very like, However, what that did do was get me in a place of thinking outside the box, because my community is femininity and it kind of exists on Instagram and YouTube. However, I was in stuff like Discord servers. And in these Discord servers every night with my gamer guy friends, we'd meet and we'd watch films together and we play games together and we chat. And so I decided to adapt that to my business. And I became the first person within my space to have all these external peripheries attached to me. And that allowed my audience to get to know me. So I didn't just have any
Wow.
more,
Okay.
I didn't just have followers. I now had brand advocates. I had Raven fans. I had people in my private community because we watch films and we do all the stuff I would have done. They're like, Kat, when are you releasing your next course? Because I've taken all of them. You know, they're the
Mm,
first person to someone send me a 3,000 word testimonial. You know,
yeah.
doing that literally
Wow.
came from just saying yes to playing video games. But that was a big lesson I learned. That was one of the lessons for sure
Mm.
that I didn't expect.
That's crazy.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I'm listening. Like, I'm just, the ideas are flowing for me, you know, in my
Oh, I
business
want to
and
hear
my
your ideas.
questions
Go
too.
ahead. Go
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
ahead.
Yeah, guys. Yeah.
I was just thinking of the second one, and it kind of happened before my business, but it's something that I didn't expect to have a shape on my life now. And that was
Mm.
when I was in university. So this was like a couple of years before I started my business. And I have parents who are strict traditional cultural Africans. So, well, they're like, you can be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, or a failure. And so I was like, okay, I'll
Okay.
be a doctor.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
So eventually I'm doing podiatry, which is basically, it's the sexiest job in the world, by the way. It's being a foot doctor. So you're dealing with all these stinky feet and these calluses. And I was like,
That's
this
swag.
is not for me.
Yeah, for real.
And so I decided to change my degree. And you can imagine that they were not happy about that. So I went through a really, really tough time with them where essentially they disowned me.
Mm.
And that was, it was really hard. I think that was the time in my life where I felt like I was just at the mercy of the harsh world around me. But I was so fed up of living my life for someone else that I
Mm.
was like, I don't care how bad things go. I'm willing to do this in order to live the life that I want.
There it is.
And I gave up my family for that. And
Mm.
so when I started my business, I started with a very different mindset than most people start, because I started my business for it to create the lifestyle that I want, not for my business to dictate the lifestyle that I had. Because I said bye-bye to everything that was the most important thing in my life.
Yeah.
So at this point, the only person I live my life for is me.
Mm.
And that made me show up as the highest value femininity coach in this space. I say no to clients. I fire people. I fire clients, not my place. I fire
That's,
clients.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, I see you feel it though. You're like, no, this is, look, I'm gonna make this happen. I got you. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, all of that gave me, and the relationship with my family is amazing now, but all of that gave me the mentality of, I choose the destiny that I have through my thoughts and my actions. I
Mm,
do not let my circumstances dictate what I do with my business.
mm, mm, mm. You know, I had multiple questions for you prior to,
Mm,
but I started focusing on what you were saying, and I think that needs a breath. You know, I think that needs a time to resonate, and
yeah.
commendable. Uh, yeah, respect to you and big blessings. Um, so in terms of, okay, so in terms of, this is one of the questions. So okay, so as a man, and we were talking about toxic male environments, right? And one of the things that I want to do is I want to find out how to better market to women, right?
Mm,
And so like I think that like what would make in all the media that I do, um, or niche or whatever we may be thinking about, like how do I make it more conducive to women, or um, you know what
yeah,
I'm trying to
I
say,
get
I
you.
think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, yeah, throw something out there for me.
Uh-huh. Well, first of all, I love that you're thinking that way, because I mean, that's where the money's at.
That's what,
And
yeah, I get you.
when so first of all, the thing that's important to say is like, women, just like men, are so diverse. So what appeals to one woman may not appeal to the other woman. So figuring out like what kind of woman you're wanting to appeal to, what's her lifestyle like, is important. But the key thing, and I learned this through studying advertising, that was my first job, was in advertising, is
Mm,
what is the fantasy for this
mm,
person? This is how I speak to my audience. You want to create a fantasy that feels aspirational, yet still relatable, where it's not so far fetched that they're like, that could never be me. but it's a few levels above where they are at right now that they say, this person, I feel like I can relate to that person, and if they're there, then I can get that there too. So if we're looking, for example, at a luxury brand, let's look at perfume. What are one of the things that luxury perfume brands use to market to women? They use this, you often see imagery of men who are falling all over these women. They can't stay away from them. Like, she just sprays the perfume and men are knocking down the door, right?
Right.
That's a fantasy.
Right, for
To
sure,
be
for sure.
desired. I mean, I wish it happened like that,
Yeah,
but it doesn't. But that's the fantasy. The fantasy is to be desired. But that's speaking to like a luxury audience. If you're using something, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna ask you, what's one thing that I should stay away from? So like, and that, I guess you may not know what I'm like marketing or advertising, but I think it may be helpful to some people, perspectives.
That again, like, that's a good question. What to stay away from? I think any sort of like potentially simplistic views of women. Like, we're intelligent consumers. We pick that up very quickly. So if you make a let's say a very sexualized advertisement, that advertisement is for men, it's not for women.
Right.
Because women do not see themselves that way.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, staying away from those generalized, probably stereotypical views. And do you know what I think is important in this day and age, and this is what helps you win, is, and we're two people of color speaking to each other as well. So beautiful. Having representations of like multiple skin tones, not from a tokenized point of view, but the amount of times, for example, I'm not going to name any shows, but there's one show on Netflix I'm watching, or Disney, and the show goes and talks about colorism. The irony is, and a lot of women are going to know the show I'm talking about, it's two light-skinned girls talking about colorism, and there's never been a dark-skinned girl in that show as the main character. And so it's kind of like a slap in the face. Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So staying away from things like that, I think is important. But what's really good to do in these situations is ask women, like, get women to review your content for women, because they'll be able to understand it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I guess, take some polls. Yeah, it's like marketing, and I think media just in general is so much different from the perspective that I was thinking and gonna take it than what you just gave me. There was even a couple times where I thought it was going to be like on a level of like too much intimacy, when you engage your female audience, and you went specifically to intelligence. So I guess it kind of goes to show where my head is versus, where a woman's head is, and how we grow and how we market.
What do you mean by intimacy? Humble. I'm so curious about that.
So I was thinking in my head, I was thinking of like things to stay away from, right? And the first thing that came to my mind was like something that may be like hypersexualized, right? But you were specifically focused on the intelligence factor. So it was kind of like I was gonna smile because I was like beginning to smile because I was like, oh, she's gonna say, then you didn't. And then I felt kind of different. So,
yeah,
I'm humble for it, and I'm learning. You're teaching me. So yeah, big ups. Big ups. Yeah, big ups. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us? And I'd love it if like on another episode you can come back and give us like some specifics on things that we may need to know with marketing, the Femm guide, I'd even love to do a show specifically just on what you do and who you are, nothing outside of it, because I think your niche is one of the prime examples that people can have that just shows here's a lane, someone's beasting it in the most, beautiful, feminine of ways, right? And it's really you see, I'm trying to be careful. It's really
like
rocking and working,
it.
right? It's really rocking
Yeah.
and working. So yeah, big ups. But yeah, if there's anything you'd like to just share with us and say, I think it would be great.
Yeah. I think social media is one of my biggest things for marketing. Like that is where I nerd out and I go, like I just have so many ideas and so many things I do. One of the things that's I think people underestimate sometimes
Mm,
is the power of social media, and how often people will meet your brand through social media before they meet it through their product or before your service. So your question is, what does what is the personality of my social media? What does my social media say about me? So when it comes to marketing, for example, one of the things that we did, and this is a practical thing that I think anyone can try and do, is we created a brand voice guide. So it's literally like a brand Bible, and it has how we talk, what kind of graphics and images we use, what kind of images we don't use, because we'll use one GIF and not use another GIF, and we need to be able to explain to someone who's coming in to create marketing content exactly why. Why do
mm,
we use this over this? Or
mm,
how we even talk, how we use our words and our copy. What kind of images are we trying to build? Are we building like dreamlike Hollywood fantasy images, or are we building nitty gritty, real world, wide lens versus that intimate closed lens images? So you have to establish that. The more clear you can get on that, the more you can distinguish yourself from the competition. And I think that's the biggest problem a lot of people have, especially new businesses, is they build a business and you can tell the difference between Pepsi and Coca-Cola in terms of branding. But if I asked you to think of like other you guys call them soda
yeah,
companies.
yeah. What do you
You
all call them in London?
call them fizzy drinks.
Is that right? Fizzy drinks? Okay.
Fizzy
All
drinks.
right.
How does
Okay.
that sound compared to soda?
Yeah, yeah. All good. All good.
Um,
That's crazy.
so if you try and think of lots of fizzy drinks company, there's so many in this world, but they're not coming to mind. Pepsi and
Mm,
Coca-Cola have gotten their branding very, very clear. And you want to
mm,
be that company who gets your branding and your marketing very, very clear. And that takes, in the beginning stages, experimentation. Like if I had to go back and say there was one thing that allowed me to just stand out, was in the beginning stages, I wasn't afraid to try something different. And so even to this day, when we work with marketing people, when we work with branding people and we're hiring them, and they say, we have a wild card and we'd love to try this, we'd love to shoot this style of video, I still say go for it.
right.
Right? I put my trust in them because they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know as much as someone like you would know or the expert would know. So I put my trust in them, and I'm not afraid
Well,
to experiment.
you know a great deal, and I can see to that, and I don't know more than anyone else, but I will say that when we were on one of our clubhouse rooms when we were moderating, um, almost every moderator that was in there, and I know you didn't know them, I'm assuming that, but they all said, "Yo, Cat is the one. Like she's really doing it. I really rock with her. I really like her." It's the truth. It's the truth. They were like, "Yo, she needs to be in every room." So I think in terms of branding, and you're doing a great job, and you've been doing a great job. So yeah, big credit, like big up. So yeah. Um,
Thank you so much. That
Thank you
means a
so
lot to
much.
hear.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
cheeks are gonna start hurting. I'm
yeah,
smiling
yeah,
so much.
yeah. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
I'm
much.
so glad to be connected with you. When I You were one of the first people, I don't think I've told you this, you were one of the first people on Clubhouse who I ever collaborated with. And it's because your energy was just so good. And I
Yeah,
loved when we were doing those coffee rooms, just the advice you'd give, the attention you paid to the people who were speaking and to the room and the integrity of the room. And that if you do that just in a comfortable environment like Clubhouse, then I can only imagine how much greater that is for the work that you do and produce.
big blessings. I really appreciate that. This was like a fireside chat. Yeah, for real, for real. Um, okay, well, Miss Catsu, Miss Cat, do you have anything else that you just like to share with us? Your links and all of your information will definitely be below. So I want to tell everybody, hit her up. She's amazing. We didn't cover anywhere near everything, but check her out. She's really doing it. Miss Cat?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. What's going on?
Thank you for listening, everyone. I would say my love language is words of affirmation. So if you leave a comment somewhere, that will just brighten my day. And thank you so much for listening.
But you see how that works though. If anybody caught that, that was beautiful right there. That was real. All right, Miss Cat, thank you very much, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.